My boy. I got so much love in my heart for him that I really don't feel like me when he's not around. Yes, there are boys and there are boys, but he's a fine boy. I want to tell the world about the boy I love, just the kind of guy I was dreaming of.
Okay, hi, it's Art Fine. Art Fine's Poker Party coming to you from Hollywood adjacent on a rainy day with a very special guest along with our regular guests. Where's the camera? On the far left, in for the 516th time, we got Todd Everett. Todd, nice to see you here.
Happy to be here, especially today.
We're glad to have you here. Next to him, we got Skip Heller. Skip, you seem to be lost in thought. Are you the thinker today?
No, I'm just trying to just think of all the records that have been played on by
Carol Kaye, my next guest. And our special guest tonight, Miss Carol Kaye, famed bass and guitar player in innumerable sessions on more records than you can imagine.
That's why I look like this.
Because you're sitting all the time?
That's right.
More records than Mike Oakes has in his archives.
Yeah. And then Carol's been a studio person in LA more or less constantly for the past 45 years, something like that.
Well, since 57, yeah.
And
57.
And
I quit for a while, though, you know.
I wish I could do one of those Billy Vera things they do at the end of the commercials. And this will be have to pay in 30 days, but I have so many things here to read that she played on, but let's just say Good Vibrations, Bernadette, La Bamba, You've Lost That Lovin' Feeling, Something Stupid, Homeward Bound. It's an amazing, I was made to love her. Holy smokes, this is just an amazing list.
Some of those are guitar,
No.
though, too. I mean, I did play a lot of guitar in the studios first, because I wasn't a bass player until 5 years of studio work. I mean, I was a jazz guitar player, and that's how I got on the Sam Cooke record dates, you know.
Well, let's anyway. As well as I can construct your life.
Can I start with something dating back to your jazz days and something I read in some of this material you gave us. I was involved in a Ricky Nelson project, and I wound up talking to Richie Frost, who played drums.
Oh, sure. Richie Frost was there playing drums.
And he was telling me that Ozzy found him when he was playing drums in a jazz place on Cahuenga, backing up Lenny Bruce. And he says lots of musicians played these like burlesque houses, and when they couldn't get work in the studios or whatever. Was that your situation as well? I noticed you played with Bruce as well. Yeah,
well, it was Bob Neal's band, though. Jack Sheldon was the trumpet player, and I forget who played the piano, but I think it was Curtis Counts on bass, because I've worked with Curtis Counts a lot there with Billy Higgins on drums, and I played with Frank Butler on drums. So those are the kinds of drummers. Bill Goodwin, who still plays with Phil Woods. I didn't know Richie until he did a little bit of studio work
I didn't mean to. I wasn't trying to make this a Richie Frost story, but it was about you playing like burlesque and jazz.
Yeah. No, I didn't do burlesque, except I did in Phoenix when I was playing a 2-week gig there. I was about 17, and I never saw a naked lady in my life, so it was an experience, you know. I'm reading music and looking like, wow, look at that.
I remember that, because I was 17 and I had the same gig at Pensacola.
I'm looking forward to it myself.
It's all just experience, you know. You just get out there, and the jazz was so hot around Los Angeles. It wasn't this cool
What year are you
West
talking
Coast jazz. Talking about 56, 57, 58, 59. And then Billy Higgins went back east there to play with Ornette Coleman. He used to sit in with the group, the Teddy Edwards group that I played with a lot with him, you know. And then Ornette used to come in and sit in. There was a lot of gigs. Practically all the nightclubs were jazz gigs back in those days. And then the rock and roll slowly took over, and then the union made a rule that you couldn't have more than the same amount of members up on the bandstand. So it stopped a lot of jamming.
I heard about that, yeah.
Back in 59, 60.
You contracted
so it
for
kind of stopped the jazz,
four,
and then the rock and roll took over. But I didn't mean to say anything against Richie, but I never saw him then. I saw him in the studios, you know.
So what, your first record session was a Sam Cooke tape?
Sam Cooke, and it was Bumps Blackwell that used to come out and hang out, you know, at the Teddy Edwards group gigs that I played there. And I played with Jack Sheldon,
Bumps
a lot of other
Blackwell,
people.
the famous producer, used to come in and watch you play around Hollywood.
Yeah, but I think I saw him probably twice, and the second time he walked up and he said, can I hire you for a record date? And I thought, gee, I don't know this fella, but everybody else seemed to know him, so it was all right. And it was great because I was having to work a day job. I had 2 kids and my mom to take care of, so I make more money on the Sam Cooke date than I did a whole week of a day
The Sam Cooke
gig,
date to which you refer is not You Send Me, but,
No,
but
it
specialty.
was the one after that.
I'll Come Running Back to You, possibly?
Gee,
Yeah.
I'm not sure at this time, but I do know that I'm playing guitar on Summertime and a few
that's a
other
good
things
one.
like that.
Yeah,
But what had happened was that Rennie Hall had just left, see, because they split up and they need me to take
Had left Specialty?
his place. Well, something happened between him
Yeah.
and Bums, and he needed a guitar player. So it's a good thing that I was a
And you wound up working with
guitar player.
Renee on La
Well,
Bamba, for instance.
Cliff White was playing the rhythm
Yeah.
guitar, and I was doing fills. Yes, I did the electric rhythm. On La Bamba, But that is Richie Valens that did his little.
The
Who was
lead
playing
is
the
Richie
electro part.
Rennie
Red Cap.
Hall.
Oh, okay.
Rennie Hall, and it was. Where's my name list? The bass player, the string bass player,
Red
Buddy
Calendar.
Clark.
Oh, I thought Red Calendar was the bass player on that.
He didn't do that. That was Buddy Clark. That's Buddy Clark on the contracts and all that stuff.
I'm not against jumping in and running with this show, but I did want to set up a basis that you were born in Washington, but then early on moved to Long Beach area, Wilmington, grew up in the projects, and
Grew up
took
in
to
the
guitar
projects.
because you liked it. I mean, it wasn't necessarily a prominent instrument at that time like it became in rock and roll.
Well, what had happened? I was about 13, and there's a steel salesman that came around, and he sold a steel for $10. My mom had
Sold
had
us
saved
steel?
a steel, little tiny cheap steel for
People were
$10.
selling steel
like a
guitars
Hawaiian
door-to-door?
steel guitar.
Hawaiian steel guitar with about 3 or 4 lessons, and my mom saw that I did real good, and she wanted me to play music. We were very, very dirt poor then, because my mom and dad had split up, and we didn't have any money. So anyway, I started playing this steel guitar, and she saw how much it meant to me, because I, back in those days, and I still do, I stuttered quite a bit, and I was pretty, I had buck teeth and everything. I was a mess, when I was a kid. But as soon as I started playing the steel guitar, I said, yes, this is something that I can do and have fun at. And then my girlfriend was taking lessons from a guitar teacher by the name of Horace Hatchett, who's the one that taught Howard Roberts too. So I went with her one time and I played
Up
for
to
him.
Hollywood? You were coming
No, I was in Long Beach, So I went over there, and he saw something in me, wanted to teach me, and then after about 3 months of lessons, and he had me play gigs, and then he hired me to help him teach, But I'm no genius at music or anything, because I heard music a lot when I was a kid, because both my parents played, and they were professionals, So
So the Bumps Blackwell Sam Cooke session was the first time you were employed professionally and got paid on a record.
Well, in the studios, because I've been working since 1949. I was on the road with the big band.
paid.
And
Well,
50s
the
and
first
like
record
that.
date you did
Oh
was the
yes,
Sam Cooke.
the first record dates.
Standard
yeah.
question.
Yeah, and I thought, well, this isn't too bad. It wasn't jazz, but there were no drugs or anything around, and it was nice.
What about your?
Everybody was nice.
Your parents were immersed in music also. Personally, did you?
Well, I never saw my dad after that. They split up,
So when
he
you
was
were
kind
when
of
you
a
were
rogue type of guy,
Besides, were you listening?
Typical musician. See?
Hey.
Not just.
Now you're going to say he was a guitar
I'm
player.
looking at you.
Were you were listening to the
Yes,
pop?
I did.
You were listening to pop radio, of course, but you also got a big jazz influence. What was the first?
Right.
What was the first record you bought?
Oh, I couldn't afford records back then. Are you kidding? I couldn't afford records. Well, I think that my teacher, because he loved the Benny Goodman stuff, the Charlie Christian stuff, and I think that I probably even bought a record if I could afford it, But anyway, he had me transcribe right from the records the solo of the Charlie Christian stuff. So I learned that real hard way of playing, but I couldn't play really good jazz improv from that. See, and I learned later on that it's from the chordal stuff, but this is what they were doing in the bop things, they were thinking chords all the time, but not the chords that you're playing. They were thinking substitute chords, you know, so I finally got it.
Yeah, but I don't think Charlie Christian really had that kind of imposable grid, because the harmonic foundation he had was Teddy Wilson and Count Basie.
Yeah, I know it was, but they're still substitutes. See, I mean, if you listen to Satin Doll, I mean, Duke Ellington did the 2-5-1, but his 5 was the flat 5 of the 5. See,
Todd and I are going out for coffee. Actually, I have to explain.
anyway,
I have to explain our role.
that's how he wrote it. You
No,
know, back in
to
the 30s, you know. So yeah.
If any of you didn't understand any of this, Art and I didn't
Charlie
either.
was cool.
I have to explain our roles on this show. Todd knows everything. That's why I
He's
have him.
Cute. How
Skip.
old are you? No.
36.
Okay.
Skip is a musician, so he can talk modal, chordal. What was it again? And my role is the dumb guy. That's what I play. It's an act. But I say things like.
That's my role.
but I-
My name
but
is
I-
Jimmy
I'm
Carl
blind.
Black, and
I'm
I'm the
supposed to be
Indian
the
of the
dumb,
group.
You're
the
talking
dumb
at the same
bimbo
time.
or something, right?
Don't talk at the same time.
Okay.
You're the dumb blonde, I'm
Yeah,
the youth
right.
vote, he's the handsome one, and he's the intellectual Jewish guy.
Yeah, okay. So, similarly, you're here in the LA area, it's a show business center. You didn't have enough money to buy a record. What about going
Right.
to a show? Did anything
Well, you
inspire?
listen on the radio.
Did you go to a show that inspired you at all?
Yeah, when I was 13, I mean, I used to save up my pennies so I can take pennies. It was really pennies back in those days, too. You took the PE car up to Los Angeles, and I used to go see the black bands, you know, that were playing in the theaters there. I mean, it was Duke Ellington and all those people. were
Downtown?
coming through. Yeah, downtown. And I was probably one of the only little white kids that was there, you know. But it was great music.
Very cool.
It was really great music. And so that inspired me. And I had this little tiny steel guitar, you know, but I quickly switched over to
Duke
guitar.
Ellington, you thought that was good, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, wise guy.
You don't think he's good?
His other role
What
is
do you think, lady?
Wow.
his other role is the sarcastic guy. Let's play a little.
He's East Coast.
Let's play.
I am.
You brought several tapes of things you play on. The first was a guitar tape, and the first cut was called Baya.
no Shorty
What
Rogers.
is? Don't talk at the same time. This is a guitar album you made in 1965, right? And
right.
what was the album called?
Well, I forget what it was called then, but it's now called Carol Kaye Guitars 65.
It's been reissued
Yes.
on a CD somewhere.
No, I mean, I put it
You put it
out
out.
myself on tape, yeah.
Let's take a little listen to that.
Available through your website,
It's
which we can't,
available on the-
which we can't plug, but
We'll
it
just
might
have
be
to
where you would expect to find Carol Kaye.
We'll just say that she has a website.
Yeah,
That's all.
thanks. Thank you.
So the first cut is called Baya, and it's a 1965.
You did Baya?
Bahia.
Oh,
Baya. Let's take a listen to that first cut off the guitar tape that she brought with.
Just commercial stuff, you know.
and
that's all
it's
it is.
pretty neat, and we'd like to hear. Right? Right cut.
Yeah, in fact, that's Randy Hall playing bass on that, and Earl on drums.
So we're not, they can't hear us
Renee's
talking.
brother wrote When the Swallows.
To it, you know.
Okay, so though you're a jazz bow, this is a more commercial track, as you say.
Right.
And you're on the
Aiming
guitar.
for that,
And you're saying you overdubbed another guitar part. on
Yeah,
that.
yeah. There's 2 or 3 guitar parts throughout that. What I was trying to do, it was known back then. If you did a commercial thing, then you'd have some power and you can play anything that you want to. But the worst rock and roll cut on that got to be on the charts a little bit. So I said, don't play it anymore because I can't see that. Because
What
I was
label
trying
was-
to.
What label was it on? Okay, some label.
I don't know.
We also might mention that you're playing.
You know, but I was trying to get out to play again, you know, because I didn't want to do studio work on bass, you know, because my hands were starting to go
I
on
want to talk
bass.
about that transition in a minute, about your guitar to bass transition. I would also want to mention that I mentioned these like Surf City, Deep Purple, when the beat goes on, Dunka Shane. I mean, it just goes on and on. The sessions you were on both bass and guitar. Also, the TV themes, MASH, Mission Impossible. Dun, 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 dun.
That's
what
right.
so
On the bass. Boom, 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 boom,
Unbelievable.
boom, boom, with the pig.
Russian.
Art pig.
Thomas
Sorry.
Crown, Thomas Crown Affair, The Pawnbroker, Heat of the Night, Airport. Good grief, you're on everything. It's really terrific.
Well, the Quincy Jones films, especially back then, were a lot of fun, you know, because he wrote real well, and it was a prestigious thing, you know, so there was a lot of films with Quincy.
So you were part of the, among the other, with all the session people in LA, you're temporarily, from time to time, part of the Wall of Sound Orchestra with Phil,
Yes,
with
right.
Spector.
Right, with Phil, uh-huh. He
and-
was fun to work for. He was a little quaint, you know.
But, and that lasted a long, long time.
But he did a good job with his wall of sound. You know, he brought in things, and then all of a sudden we had to play with a lot of echo in our ears, and we couldn't hear each other. You know, it was kind of wild there for a while, but he brought that on, you know.
Also, it mentions Motown records that I'm frankly shocked to find out about, since
Yeah, some of
Detroit,
that-
Motown, Detroit. So you're saying, reach out, I'll be there, dung, 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 dung.
There's a few of those things that were cut out here, yes.
And you were
and I'm one of 10 bass players that did it out here in the
Oh, I
60s,
see.
you know, but I did do the double time picking, you know, because you can do that easy with the beat. You know, you can do that real fast. You know.
It's really incredible. And Bernadette, and we mentioned I Was Made to Love Her, not a bad song. You said there was a point at which you accidentally made a transition from the bass, from the guitar to the bass, because the bass player didn't show up for some session.
That was late 63. There's somebody that didn't show up on bass at Capitol Records, and so they put the Fender bass in my lap, and I started playing it. And I said, yeah, this is cool, you know, because back in those days, I mean, you had to bring in a 12-string guitar. You had both electric and acoustic. You had to bring in an acoustic and electric guitar. You had to carry all these things in, and a gut string and a banjo and all these things. So by that time, I'm building my muscles up, and I'm kind of tired of the surf rock too. You know, I was tired of playing, you know, that kind of stuff. Jang, jang, jang. It grooved, but year after year after year,
You had a
got
nice
tired of that.
tremolondo on that version by ear. I could never get it that easy.
Well, you know, it was all this ding, 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 you know, it was all that hard thing, you know, and they say, well, you got your bass lines from that. And I say, no, I got my bass lines, I think, you know, from all the jazz that I played, which was Latin. You know, there's a lot of Horace Silver type of things that were going on in the 50s in jazz, you know. And if you listen to Latin, it's very, very close to rock and roll, and you can get a lot of good rhythmic type of lines going on the bass that way. So that's what happened. And I played bass with the pick, and it got a certain sound, and they liked me, and plus I was on time. You know.
So did
And you
if
only
you're
had to
going
carry
through
one
a-
instrument into the studio?
Carrying one instrument beat carrying 6 in, you know. Plus, I saw the future of the bass, because the bass was the bottom of the band. And coming from jazz, you know how important that bass is, but nobody really gave it the respect that it should have had, you know. But bass and rock and roll, when you're playing boom, do 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 oh oh da do do oh do 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 oh do 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 do, and you're laying down a foundation for the whole hit song. And I saw that, and nobody was really doing that. They were doing boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Very simple stuff, which is great. It had good sounds and all that, but I heard different sounds going here and there for the songs, and that's why at first, back then, they didn't have a lot of arrangements going on. You had to invent lines, and Leon Russell would invent on piano, and Howard Roberts would invent on guitar. Earl would invent his swamp beat. He brought that swamp beat, which later became funk. See, we'd be bored on these days going jungo jinga, and Earl would go dungo da do 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 ba do do
Cyril Palmer, by the way.
samba bum 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 bum. It's close to funk. See, so that stuff all works on bass. Excuse me, did I talk too long?
You're
I'm
here to
sorry.
talk. I'd rather hear you than any of
I'm
us.
sorry.
Any of us.
But anyway, that's what happened.
Let me play a little quick thing off of the bass tape that we have. That's the second cut on the bass tape that you distribute yourself right now. Is this off another session or something you did specifically for a demonstration purpose?
This is that butter do 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 do.
It's cut too on the bass tape.
Oh, it's cut too on the bass tape. That's with Ray Brown. Ray Brown and I got to playing on so many film calls together, and he'd play one part and I'd play another part. We did it so well together that we thought, well, why not do why not do a record date that
You're
way?
playing
And so-
electric and he's playing acoustic.
And
on
he's
this.
playing acoustic on top, and I'm playing electric on the bottom, and it's got John Guerin on drums, and it's got Howard Roberts on electric guitar, and Joe Sample on keyboard.
And this too was an album,
We started to do it as an album. It's just 4 tracks that we did.
so it wasn't released. It was the beginnings of an album.
It was always in the can, and so this is something that we did in 1968.
Let's take a listen to that. Cut to what's it called? Do you remember?
Groundhog Shuffle.
Let's take a listen to
That's Ray's tune.
all those people we just mentioned. Second cut on the.
Ray Brown, you think he's good, huh?
Ooh, he's the papa. You don't get any better than him.
Sound there pulls right out. That's very good. So that was an unreleased thing that you played on, and it was terrific. What you're talking about instruments here, Danos. That's from Hawaii 5-0, right?
Dano bass guitar. No, no. What you hear on the Hawaii 5-0 is that pick sound on the Fender bass, because I could get that real clicky sound
I was
too.
talking about Bookham Dano is what I was talking about.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry.
What were you saying about instruments that have you always played the same?
No, the Dan Electro Longhorn bass, also known as the baritone guitar. For
No,
people,
it's different. It's
well,
different.
used the same way. The 6-string, the 4-string, but basically it's that kind of
Different tuning.
Yeah. But it's used, but to people who
Don't
don't
argue
know
with
about tunings,
Okay.
you know, it sounds like the same thing.
Well, what the Dano was back there. I mean, we didn't have the baritone back then, which is a different pitch in tuning. See?
Well, the Don Electro is the loud bass sound on La Bamba, for instance, right?
Yeah, well, that's being used as a solo
The
on
melodic
that.
sort of bass sound.
If you listen to the ding, dick, 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 what you call the
Tic-tac?
Yeah, the tic-tac. We never called it that. I mean, we just called it the Dano bass guitar, because it truly was a guitar type of thing rather than a real bass. I mean, the Fender bass got that real deep sound, see, but the Dano got a clicky sound, and it was a piece of crap, you know, that we had to
sold out of
put.
the Sears catalog.
I had to put new pickups in there. I had to put new strings on, new bridges, everything to make it work right. You know, the Dano that I use on the in crowd, I'm in with the in crowd. You know, you hear that. That's the Dano that I played on that, and I played the Dano on quite a few things. But you hear that Dano on the Wichita Lineman, because Glenn Campbell borrowed it and played it as a solo, and that's the one that got stolen, by the way. That's the bass guitar that got stolen. But it was a good sound, and during those days I was playing a lot of Dano bass. I guess that's why they stuck the Fender bass in my hand. But you know what? I got so cocky with it, because I could invent all kinds of lines, and everybody loved me, and they had to have me, and all this kind of stuff. After about 2 or 3 months, I was standing there listening to them. Yeah, I'm hot stuff, you know, that kind of thing. And Earl says, yeah, Carol, you sound good, but you're rushing. And I said, I'm not rushing. And I listened to it. He was right. So I went home and I learned how to get my time together so I could groove right. And I thank Earl Palmer for that, because he was absolutely right. I mean, you try to help each other out in the studios. You know, you're not trying to,
Well, it's funny nobody
be petty
mentioned
or
that to you
anything.
before.
Nobody mentioned that before. I was queen of it all, you know. But I got my come down. I learned how to play better then, you know. So that helped.
Earl Palmer is one of those guys who, if he was driving in a car and listening to an AM radio and it went through a tunnel, he could tap his foot until he came out the other side, and if the record was off the beat, the record was wrong.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, Earl was Mr. Groove, see.
We're getting
He
close.
was fun to work
We're getting
with.
close to the end. We'll go out
Sorry
on something
about
else.
that.
But I keep looking at this list, and it's a partial list. You've been in how many sessions?
Well, it's been over 10,000. And when I had my surgery on my TMJ, I came back. I moved back to Hollywood, and I did some more dates. You know, it's been fun. I went out to play some jazz again because I did miss playing jazz. You know, but most of the people that did the rock and roll hit records were jazz people. We were saying, Shh, don't tell anybody we play jazz. You know, because we were working for young guys who felt uncomfortable, I think, if we had said that we had played jazz. Well, you know. Yeah. And it was good to work for them because they were mostly all nice guys, you know. There's a little bit of funny stuff going on, you know. I mean, some one-liners, you know, going on. But we were there to help them get the hit records. So we figured if we could play good, we took care of our kids, the money would come, and it did come. And pretty soon, we were all buying Cadillacs, and everybody had their diamond ring, and I had a little piece of glass. Oh yes, on my ring, it's the typhoon in China, you know, that kind of thing. You know, so we were bragging stuff like that. But about the end of the '60s, it got old, and it felt like a formula thing. And I got more into the films, and then the TV things. And I liked that a little bit better. I was kind of, you know, it was fun for its time. The Monkees, the T-Bones, Jan and Dean. Brian Wilson was great to work for, you know. I mean, the Beach Boys stuff. But even that got a little boring sometimes because you work on one tune for 3 hours, you got a little tired, you know. So.
You know, I bet we have possibly enough stuff to talk to her about to do a second show. What do you think?
It's too bad we all have to leave.
So let's continue this.
I'll come back if I can wear the same jacket and red shirt.
All right, you're welcome back.
Okay, and let's talk about you guys. I'm sorry.
We never talk about it.
Yeah, I don't think so. Supremes, Love Child, Back in My Arms Again, Stop in the Name of Love. Oh my God! And you're on the Kojak theme, and you're on the Batman theme, and you're one of the Marquettes, you're one of the T-Bones, you're one of the many imaginary groups that made records back then.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but the movies were a lot of fun though too.
Plus, you played
know,
on all those
Thomas
Quinn
Crown.
Martin chase scenes.
This is the record you got. I'll call Thumbs Up record. We call it a record. It's a CD. And we're going to play the Green Dolphin Street, the beginning of it, from Carol and Ray Pizzi.
Pizzi on sax,
and
great
Holder.
sax player.
So that's the new CD that Carol has out. And let's take a listen
Mitch
to
Holder
it now.
on guitar.
And we want to thank Carol Kaye.
No drums. Sorry.
I want to thank Carol Kaye very much for being here, and we'll see.
It's going to get tape put over my mouth.
Hope you can tune in next week. So let's take a listen to that song, Green Dolphin Street, by the assemblage previously named.
This is great. You never hear jazz people playing Green Dolphin Street.
They hate it right now.
Thank you.